From social media, I discovered that my sister was using my money for her vacations and her luxury boutique. So I said, "Enough! How dare you do this to the family?" My mother yelled. I canceled everything. And then, brother of my soul, that's what my sister Carla used to call me every time she asked for money, and like an idiot I always fell for it. For 3 years I lived with the fear of losing her. 3 years in which I put off everything so that she could receive her treatment. I even took out a loan when she told me that she needed an urgent operation. If I didn't help her, her life could end at any moment, or at least that's what I believed. Until one day, sitting on the terrace of a bar in Madrid with a strong coffee and a constantly vibrating phone, I saw it. A story on Instagram. Sun Sea cocktails with little umbrellas, and her posing with her friends on a yacht on the Marbella coast. Well-deserved vacation. Girls' beach luxury, no worries. My stomach clenched. My brain tried to find a logical justification. Just yesterday, she wrote to me saying that she was hospitalized again, that the doctors had prescribed a new, even more expensive treatment. Vacation? What was she talking about? I took a sip of coffee trying to calm down. Maybe someone invited her. Maybe it was last minute. But then another notification appeared on my screen, a message from my cousin Javier. "Dude, I don't want to interfere, but did you know Carla is spending the dough in Marbella?" Before writing to Carla, I did one thing. I called the clinic where she was supposedly receiving treatment. When the secretary answered, I took a deep breath and asked in a neutral voice, "Good morning, I'd like to verify the information of a patient, Carla Mendez. I'm in charge of her payments and I need to know the status of her treatment." "Excuse me, Carla Mendez?" There was a hesitant silence on the line. "Yes, she mentioned she is in the oncology wing." "I'm sorry, but we don't have any patient registered with that name." The air caught in my throat. "Are you sure?" "She's a private patient, pays for her own treatment." "Sir, that information is not correct. We don't have any Carla Mendez in our database." I cut the call with trembling hands. I had been scammed. My blood ran cold. I took a deep breath and dialed her number. "Where are you?" I blurted out as soon as she answered. There was the noise of music, laughter, and the distant sound of waves. "Hey, brother!" Carla shouted, slurring her words, probably already on her third cocktail. "You won't believe what I'm seeing right now. A movie like Sunset in Marbella." There was a pause. "Well, yes, but wait, I can explain." "I don't need explanations. Where did you get the money?" Another pause, then a nervous laugh. "Oh, Ale, don't be like that. I deserved a break. You know how bad I've been." I was speechless. 3 years paying her bills, believing she was broke, that she had no other option. 3 years where I cut my own expenses to help her. And now it turns out she was taking a break in one of the most expensive cities in Spain. My jaw tightened. "I hope you enjoy it because it's the last time you see a euro of mine, Alejandro." "Don't be dramatic." Her tone changed from playful to exasperated. "It's just a trip." I hung up without replying. And there I thought the story ended. How naive I was. The real bomb dropped 2 weeks later. For 2 weeks I ignored all her calls. During all that time, Carla tried to play innocent, leaving me voicemails in her sweetest tone. "Ale, please don't be like this, it was just a little trip, nothing more." "Alejandro, we can't let something silly come between us, we're family. Mom is worried about you, she says you're acting weird." Oh right. Now was the one with the problem. I didn't answer a single one. Not her messages, nor the hints she dropped in the family group chat. Nothing. Absolute silence. But then the bomb arrived. It was Friday afternoon when I received a message from my friend Javier. "Dude, what the hell is this?" He attached a photo. My heart stopped. Carla posing proudly at the entrance of an elegant place in the center of Madrid, an exclusive luxury clothing boutique. Above the door, a new and shiny sign. Carla Boutique Exclusive Fashion. I was paralyzed. It couldn't be. Sliding champagne. Hashtag invited, hashtag smiling, hashtag Carla. Carla in a very expensive dress cutting a red ribbon as if she were the damn queen of Spain. And then I read the caption. "After so much effort, this dream finally comes true. Thanks to those who have always believed in me. Hashtag entrepreneur, hashtag new beginning, hashtag thanks family." My vision blurred with pure rage. I dialed her number without thinking. 3 rings, 4, then her cheerful and sing-song voice. Ale brother. I was just thinking about calling you. Have you seen the photos? I took a deep breath, trying not to explode instantly. Can you explain what the hell this is? Silence. Well, no, it's not what you think. It's not what I think. You opened a luxury store with my money, and it's not what I think. Look, don't be dramatic. Dramatic is me spending 3 years paying your bills because you cried that you didn't have enough to eat. Well, yes, but what? She clicked her tongue as if she was fed up with my attitude. Look, Ale, I just took what I deserved. I felt like I couldn't breathe. What I deserved. You've been telling me for years that everything is going to get better, that we have to keep going, that I can do it. Well, I did it. Isn't that what you wanted? My jaw tightened. So scamming me and lying to me was your plan all this time? She sighed dramatically. Don't see it that way, Ale. It's more like compensation for everything I've been through. I had to move the phone away from my ear so I wouldn't throw it against the wall. Compensation? Are you kidding me? Oh, Alejandro, it's already done. Don't make a fuss. Besides, not all the money came from you. Dad and Mom also helped me. I blinked. Dad and Mom? How? Well, her voice became cautious. They knew about the business from the beginning. I felt a lash in my chest. Don't get upset. Look, they just wanted the best for the family. And when I told them my idea, they thought it was great, so they supported me. Supported? Meaning they knew I was being lied to, they knew I was being used, and they kept quiet. I was speechless. Ale, are you still there? I hung up without answering. I felt my whole body burning with rage. But the worst was yet to come. I didn't sleep all night. I tried to calm down, rationalize, find some sense in all of this, but there wasn't any. My own family had used me as if I were their damned ATM while I killed myself working, believing I was helping Carla get ahead. Lies, it was all lies. On Saturday afternoon, I received a message from my mother. Son, we need to talk. Come home for dinner tonight. I knew I shouldn't go. I knew it would be an emotional trap. But still, something inside me wanted to believe that everything could be fixed. As I drove to the house, nostalgia hit me. It was December. Carla and I used to decorate the house for Christmas. It was hard work, but deep down I loved those moments. Mom would bring hot chocolate and sit with Dad on the sofa, watching us put up the lights. I don't understand why so much effort, Carla would huff, pretending to be annoyed as she placed a golden star on the top. Because this is our tradition, Dad would say with a smile. And someday when you have your own house, you'll want to do the same. I gripped the steering wheel. How ironic. That house, which used to make me feel safe, was now the place where I would be manipulated again. When I arrived, the smell of roast lamb filled the house. It always did when they wanted to sweet-talk me. My mother used food as a damn manipulation tool. At the table were Carla, my father, and my mother. My sister, with a glass of wine in her hand, smiled as if nothing had happened. Ale, darling, sit down. Let's talk as a family. I crossed my arms. There's nothing to talk about. I just want one thing. For Carla to return every single euro I gave her. My mother sighed as if I were the problematic one. You have to understand, we did it for the good of everyone. What's wrong with you? Are you going to let your sister die? The good of who? Hers. I let out a dry laugh. Do you really expect me to swallow that crap? Alejandro, don't be rude. My father snapped in his authoritarian tone. You can't turn your back on her at a time like this. A time like this? She's not sick. She's been manipulating us this whole time. I blurted out angrily. Don't exaggerate, son. I'm not exaggerating. I gave her every last cent. I even took out a loan because I thought she was dying. And now it turns out it was all a farce and you knew it. Rude is what you've done. You deceived me, you lied to me. You took my money as if I were an imbecile. Carla clicked her tongue and rolled her eyes. God, how dramatic. I felt my blood boil. Tell me one thing, Carla. When were you planning to tell me the truth? After I bought you another store? Or when I gave you enough for a damn yacht? She smiled as if it didn't affect her. Oh, Ale, you're still exaggerating. No, Carla, what you did is a crime. If it were anyone else, you would have ended up in jail. Silence. My mother put her spoon down on her plate abruptly. We can't continue with this attitude, Alejandro. Her tone turned cold. We are a family. We have always shared everything. No, Mom. You have shared what's mine. Carla smirked. Well, technically it was a loan. Loan. I laughed incredulously. Then pay me back right now. My father crossed his arms. Alejandro, I understand you're hurt, but believe me, it wasn't our intention to hurt you. We just wanted the best for her. You don't understand how difficult it is for a young woman to start a business. My stomach churned. My rage grew, but deep down it hurt more than anything. Flashback. The day I got my first real job, my parents were beaming. We're so proud of you, son, Mom said, hugging me. We knew you'd make it. Dad patted me on the back. You're a natural-born worker. Carla also congratulated me. My successful brother, she joked, but with genuine affection. Difficult. Difficult is what it cost me to earn that money while you squandered it. Do you know what's difficult? Difficult is going months without buying yourself anything, because you believe your sister doesn't even have enough to eat. Difficult is working extra hours while she strolls around Marbella. Difficult is realizing that your own family has used you like a naive idiot. My mother clutched her chest. Don't shout. Don't shout at us when you ask for money next time, Mom. The silence fell like a slab until Carla shrugged and said in her most cynical tone, Well, it doesn't matter anyway. What do you mean it doesn't matter? She took a sip of wine, savoring it calmly. Because soon you'll be able to help the family in another way. I frowned. What are you saying? My mother and father exchanged glances. Carla smiled smugly. We've found someone perfect for you. Felt a chill. An amazing girl, Ale. The daughter of some friends of Dad's. Very traditional, with family values and with money. I was speechless. My mother nodded with a forced smile. Love is what's best for everyone. She understands the importance of family. My breathing quickened. Are you telling me you found me a wife so I can pay for you? Don't put it like that, my mother began. It's exactly like that. I banged my fist on the table, making the glasses clink. This is insane. Carla calmly poured herself more wine. Don't get hysterical. Just think about it. If you marry her, you won't have to worry about money, and neither will we. We all win. We all win. Except me. My jaw tightened. It was the last straw. I looked at my parents. Where were those people now? They were no longer the family that hugged me when I got my first job. Now they only saw me as a source of money. I took my phone out of my pocket and said in a cold voice, Either you leave me alone, or I call the police right now. My parents' faces fell. Carla dropped her glass on the tablecloth. You wouldn't dare. I dialed the number. Want to test me? Silence. For the first time, Carla wasn't smiling. Neither were my parents. I stood up from the table, grabbed my jacket, and walked to the door. Listen to me carefully. My voice was colder than ever. If you ask me for a single euro again, if you try to manipulate me again, if you keep meddling in my life, if this continues, I will take legal action. I looked at them one last time. We don't exist anymore. And I left that house forever. I left that house with my hands trembling with rage. We don't exist anymore. The words kept repeating in my head as I walked through the streets of Madrid. We don't exist anymore. Or at least that's what I tried to tell myself as I left that house. But could I really cut ties so easily? They were my family. They had raised me. We had shared years together. And yet, at this moment, all I felt was emptiness. Was I doing the right thing? Or was I just letting myself be carried away by rage? But they weren't going to give up so easily. Phone vibration. A message from Carla. Stop making a fool of yourself, Ale. You can't disinherit your own family. Then another from my mother. Son, reconsider. If you continue like this, you'll force us to take action. And the last one from my father. Don't do something you'll regret. Regret. That was the biggest mistake they made because at that moment I decided to make them face the consequences. 2 days later, a lawyer's office on Gran Via. I sat across from the lawyer's desk with a folder in my hand. Inside were every receipt, every transfer, every message from Carla begging for money with crocodile tears. The lawyer, a man in his 50s with thick glasses, looked over the documents calmly. Interesting, he murmured. You have solid evidence for a case of fraud and breach of trust. I nodded, my fists clenched. I remained silent for a moment. Did I really want to take this all the way? Report my own family? Part of me still wanted to find an explanation, a justification, something that would make all this make sense. But looking at the documents in front of me, every message, every receipt, I understood that there was no turning back. They hadn't hesitated to take advantage of me, so why should I continue feeling guilty? The lawyer smiled. That can be arranged. And so the war began. Saturday, my parents' house. I went with one objective: to end this. When I opened the door, I found Carla in the living room with her phone in her hand and a glass of wine. Look who's back, the prodigal son. I didn't even acknowledge her. My mother appeared from the kitchen with her typical fake sweet smile. Son, it's good you came. I knew you'd come to your senses. I took a deep breath and said what I had come to say. If in 24 hours you don't return every last euro, I'm filing a complaint for fraud and misappropriation. The atmosphere changed in a second. My mother lost her color. Carla laughed. You're going to report your own family? Don't make me laugh, Ale. You're right, I shrugged. First, I'll make it public. I took out my mobile and opened the family chat where my uncles, cousins, and grandparents were. You wouldn't dare. Carla spat, putting her glass down on the table. I pressed send. Family, just so you know, Carla scammed me for 3 years. She opened her business with my money while making me believe she was broke. Mom and Dad knew. Let everyone draw their own conclusions. My father, who had been silent until now, stood up, banging on the table. Alejandro, enough. You're embarrassing us in front of everyone. I held his gaze.
No, Dad.
You embarrassed me. Ding ding ding. The family group chat exploded. What's going on? Tell me this isn't true. Carla, answer. Carla jumped up and snatched my phone from my hands. But what have you done? Tell the truth, something that's very difficult for you. My mother tried to calm the situation. Alejandro, we can fix this. We're family. I approached her slowly. Mom, if you were really family, you would never have betrayed me. Her expression broke and then I knew. I had one. A week later, Carla tried to save her boutique, but the customers disappeared. The scandal went viral in my parents' social circle, and their reputation was shattered. I found out from Javier that Carla was in crisis. The business is in ruins, Ale. She can't even pay the rent for the place. I smiled. 1 year later. Barcelona. The sun embraced the streets of Barcelona with its typical golden afternoon glow. Sitting on the terrace of a bar in Elborn with a cold beer in my hands, I watched the comings and goings of people. Tourists, locals, street music, laughter at the neighboring tables. A beautiful chaos, so different from the suffocating pressure I felt in Madrid. Here, no one knew me as the son who supported his family or the brother who paid for everything. Here I was just Alejandro, the man who had built his own destiny. Sorry I'm late, love. I looked up and smiled. Maria, red dress, lips painted the same color, and that brown hair gathered in a messy bun that gave her a carefree and sexy air at the same time. She leaned in to kiss me before sitting down, leaving behind the scent of jasmine and love. A lot of work. I asked, taking her hand. Not so much. I closed a contract with a hotel in Barceloneta to redesign their lobby. Nothing important. I rolled my eyes with a smile. Nothing important, she says, when she just signed with one of the most exclusive chains. And you? She rested her chin on her hand, looking at me with that mischievous expression I loved. What are you thinking about? I took a deep breath, letting the sea breeze caress my face. About how extremely well I am now. She laughed and raised her glass of wine. Let's toast to the bad decisions that lead us to the best ones. The glasses clinked softly. Phone vibration. I looked down. A notification. A message from Carla. Ale, I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but I'd like to talk. I'm really bad. I'm sorry. My jaw tightened, not with anger or sadness. I simply felt nothing. I looked at the screen for a few seconds and without thinking blocked her. Maria raised an eyebrow. Something important? I smiled calmly. Nothing worth it. I took a sip of my beer, enjoying the freedom of not owing anything to anyone. For the first time in my life, I was completely free. My office in the example building. 2 hours later, the sound of my shoes echoed on the elegant wooden floor as I entered my office. A year ago, I would never have imagined myself here. Now I had my own office in the heart of Barcelona. But getting here wasn't easy. There were nights when I doubted, when I thought that maybe I had overreacted, that maybe I could have handled things differently. It took me months to recover emotionally, to build my business from scratch, to find confidence in myself. But now, looking through the windows of my office, I knew that all the effort had been worth it. It hadn't been a quick or easy path, but this time, everything I had was truly mine. I was no longer just the guy who worked to pay his family's debts. Now I was the CEO of my own financial consulting firm. You have meetings until 6, but I can move the dinner with the Italian investor if you prefer. I turned and saw Lucia, my assistant, checking the agenda. Not even in my wildest dreams did I imagine having an assistant. Leave it as it is, Lucia. I want to finish early today. Perfect. She left and I leaned back in the leather chair, looking out the window with a slight smile. Phone vibration. I looked at the screen. A message from Javier, my cousin. Carla's business went under. Dad and Mom had to sell the house to cover debts. Now they live in a smaller apartment. They say it's your fault. I burst out laughing. Oh right. It's always my fault. Maria, who had been looking through some magazines on the office sofa, looked up. Now what? I showed her the message. She smiled ironically. So after robbing you, deceiving you, and manipulating you, they still believe you owe them something? I nodded with a dry laugh. Exactly. But now they're living with the consequences of their own greed. I stood up, walked towards her, and put my arms around her waist. And I, for the first time in my life, am living for myself. She wrapped her arms around my neck. You're right. And the best part is that now no one can touch you. I kissed her deeply and slowly because finally everything I had was mine. My money, my time, my effort. And that was the biggest victory of all.